Belly fat is really easy to gain and notoriously hard to lose. It can seem as though no matter what exercises you try and no matter how well you eat, the belly fat just won't budge. And unfortunately, with extensive surgery, there's currently no proven method of being able to spot reduced fat from the belly. There is an exercise, however, that is incredibly underutilized yet powerfully effective when it comes to losing belly fat. Today, I'll share what that is and how you can start using it right away. First off, let's talk about why belly fat is so hard to lose in the first place. This was first brought to attention in the literature back in 1997 by Dr. Bouchard, where he discovered that certain areas of your body are easier to lose fat than others, and is largely determined by genetics. They found that although some individuals seem to be less inclined to store fat around their abdomen, most people's genetics prioritize abdominal fat loss last. Now, having your genetics stacked against you may seem problematic if you're looking to develop a slim or lean abdomen, but there is a solution. As long as you create a calorie deficit and continue to burn more calories than you consume every day, you will continue to lose fat. Eventually, if maintained long enough, you will lose excess fat from all areas of your body, even if your genetics put your belly fat at the back of the line. And although your diet should be your main way of creating a calorie deficit, adding additional exercise can help speed it up and ensure that you're continuing to lose fat even as your metabolism slows down. Now you guys are smart, and you're probably already aware of this, and may have attempted to burn more calories and shred belly fat faster by incorporating things like running, rowing, cycling, or even HIIT workouts. These forms of cardio tend to burn calories very quickly, making them seem like a great way to burn off belly fat over time. For example, based on what's known as a compendium of physical activities, a regularly updated database that outlines the calorie burn for various exercises, a 170-pound individual, compared to if they were to just sit around, can expect to burn roughly an additional 12 calories per minute when running at a moderate pace of 6 miles per hour. So a 30-minute running session would lead to a net total of about 360 calories burned. Do that 3 times a week for a year, and that would lead to an additional 56,160 calories burned. And given that back in 1958, researcher Wishnowsky discovered that losing 1 pound of fat requires burning 3,500 calories more than you consume, then this routine would amount to about 16 pounds of additional fat loss per year. Now, while this does sound great on paper, the truth is the overwhelming majority of people can't actually stick with traditional cardio long enough for fat loss to reach stubborn areas. In fact, even in studies where subjects are assigned to cardio sessions to do, dropout rates tend to be on average almost 20%. And it's not that these methods don't work, because they do. I've personally used running and HIIT regularly in the past to get me down to very lean levels. In fact, I used to believe that these intense cardio sessions were the key to burn off so much fat. They were brutal. They required a lot of willpower. I got sore from them and really impacted my energy, and I just dreaded doing them most of the time. And although I stuck it through and eventually did get the six-pack goals after, simply because I was burning a lot of calories, I just couldn't get myself to continue these grueling sessions, especially outside of the summertime. And eventually, I had lost a lot of the progress I've made. Now don't get me wrong, these forms of cardio, they do definitely have their place, and some people have no problem sticking to them. In fact, I still do these intense sessions once or twice a week for conditioning, but I no longer rely on them as my main form of cardio to lose fat. And nor should most people. Because if you want to lose your belly fat, more importantly, keep it off once it's gone, then you need something that really sticks with for life. What's the solution? It's the easiest to maintain, lowest stress, lowest fatigue, most versatile form of cardio: walking. Now I know what you're thinking. Walking doesn't burn many calories, and there is no way I can walk my way to a six-pack. Years back, I would have said the exact same thing. But a 2021 meta-analysis titled "Slow and Steady or Hard and Fast" helped shed some light on the matter. The researchers analyzed a total of 54 studies to determine the effect that different types of cardio have on fat loss. What they found is that intense forms of cardio like HIIT or running, while time efficient, didn't provide any superior fat loss effect when compared with longer yet less intense forms of cardio such as walking. Which makes sense. It's simply a numbers game. Your body doesn't care whether the calories you burned were from some crazy intense fasted cardio session or from plain old walking. What matters most is what you can do consistently over time. And if you crunch the numbers, you'll actually find that the calories burned from simply walking can very quickly add up to a meaningful amount. For example, Using the same exercise database we used earlier, a 170-pound individual walking at a casual 3 miles per hour can expect to burn an additional 3.4 calories per minute and roughly 200 calories per hour. If for 3 days per week you add in an extra hour of walking, that would amount to 600 additional calories burned per week. Over the course of the year, that's an additional 31,200 calories burned, which would amount to about 9 pounds of fat loss. And the math checks out in the literature as well, with one of the few studies out there analyzing walking's effect on fat loss, finding that subjects who simply added in 2.5 hours of brisk walking per week experienced an additional 3.5 pounds of fat loss over the course of 12 weeks. Now, although hours of walking may sound like a lot, it doesn't have to be all at once. Later in this video, I'm going to show you how to incorporate this into your life effortlessly. But first, just compare the walking routine to the running routine that I gave earlier. Yes, the running routine will burn more calories in less time, but be honest with yourself. How likely would you be to keep that up for a whole year? If you're like most people and you go all out for 2 months, but then become inconsistent and give up after that, that 16 pounds of additional fat loss we calculated becomes just a couple pounds. Nowhere near enough fat for most people to even come close to burning through their excess belly fat. This is why walking is the #1 exercise to lose belly fat, and is why it's now my main form of cardio to get lean and stay lean. It's easy to stick to. So now that I've hopefully convinced you of the power of walking, let's dive into how you can easily start applying it to lose fat. The first step is to determine an average of how many steps you're currently taking. You can use the health app on your iPhone or use Google Fit if you're on Android. After a week, see what your daily average comes up to. If you already know this, great. I'd like to know as well, so do me a favor and comment below how many steps you're currently taking, and if you have any tips that helped you increase it or what obstacles may be holding you back. Some of you, however, might be surprised with how few steps you're taking. But this is a good thing, as it means that you have a big opportunity to bump that up. I wouldn't recommend trying to jump all the way up to something like 10,000 steps right away. Instead, set a realistic goal. For example, first aim to do an extra 2,000 steps a day. Given that the average individual takes about 1,200 steps during 10 minutes of walking, all you have to do is throw in 2 10-minute walks into your day to accomplish that. Once you're consistent with that, try bumping it up by another 2,000 steps and continue doing this with the goal of consistently getting at least 8,000 steps or even up to 15,000 steps per day, which seems to be the range that provides the greatest fat loss and health benefits. The key though is to make this fit your lifestyle. Some tips I personally use are to always choose a far parking spot, take the longest way to the washroom, do 10 minutes of incline walking after each workout, take 10-minute walks after each meal, take the stairs instead of the elevator whenever possible, listen to podcasts while walking, and more. And for those who are busy in the office all day, a study that had subjects add just 5 minutes of walking per hour into their office day found that over the course of the year, it would amount to over 9 pounds of additional fat loss. In this case, you can also try to aim for a higher step count on the weekends to boost your weekly average. But trust me, these little things add up. Apply these tips and you'll be surprised with just how much they can increase your step count, and even more surprised once you notice the fat slowly coming off. That said, guys, I want to emphasize that walking or any form of cardio is only effective for fat loss if it's used in combination with a diet. Think about it. The calories you burn from a whole hour of walking or 30-minute run is equivalent to the calories in 3 pieces of toast, which you can consume in literally a matter of seconds. So use your diet as a primary way to create a calorie deficit and supplement it with walking to help speed up the process. And if you need help with putting this all together into an easy to follow, science-based workout and nutrition plan that you can trust will work to help you burn off different fat and build lean muscle, then head on over to buildascience.com and take our analysis quiz to find the best program for you. I'd also highly recommend that you give this video a watch next, which is going to cover some tips on how to structure your nutrition plan to help further speed up the fat loss process. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.